Dune actor Timothee Chalamet offended some when he called people bragging about being child-free bleak. His comments come in his December 2025 Vogue cover story. In the interview, Chalamet, who currently stars in Marty Supreme, a film exploring a tennis player's pursuit of greatness, reflected on how his peers discuss family and legacy. He recalled watching an interview of someone, quote, bragging about not having kids and how much time it afforded them to do other stuff, like holy expletive bleak.
As Vogue writes, the 29-year-old actor told the magazine he knows some people can't have children or are never in a position to, but he believes procreation is the reason we're here. He added that children, quote, could be on the radar for him, and that you don't have to be selfish to be great.
But some online did not appreciate his comments. Some ex-users accused Chalamet of pro-natalist propaganda, glorifying breeding, and alienating people with infertility or trauma. Oh my.
Oh goodness, I feel like I should just let you roll on this one, Amber. I mean, look,
pro-natalist propaganda.
What I would say is, people can brag about whatever choices they like in their personal lives. As far as I'm concerned, they can brag about not having children, they can brag about having 12 children, or they can whatever. I mean, as long as it's all free and consensual behavior among adults, I don't really care what people brag about. But I mean, I guess he's getting at this idea that he feels the overall social or cultural mores are being critical of people who have children or whatever. I imagine you don't love the charge of pro-natalist propaganda.
Yeah, it was an interesting term. Or what was the other? Something about breeders.
Something about that, yeah.
Well, so I think he has a point. I talk to people, friends of mine, who have large families, who have a lot of kids, and they say just going in public, the looks that you get, the comments of like, why do you have so many children? It's sort of very sneering and nasty. And when I'm a big Redditor. People know this about me. I recently found myself on one of these like anti-reproduction subreddits, and it's a lot of the dinks, the double income, no kids. And the way they talk about children and families is so depressing. They refer to kids as like crotch goblins and like snot rags. It's really nasty. And and I just think the tone of it feels like they're coping a little bit.
I wonder, though, I should get Reddit out and go on, because I assume it has forums that are with people who have perhaps large families or who are advocates for the nuclear family and having lots of children within that. And I wonder if they are sneering at the childless or sneering.
I've been on those subreddits too.
What are they like?
It's not quite the same level of sneering. Okay. It's usually more like insular and like self-focused as opposed to like, here's what the other people are doing.
Yeah.
And we talked earlier in the show or elsewhere in the show about people getting married later, having fewer children, and this fertility crisis that's happening in the United States. And so I think it's understandable for someone like Chalamet, who is in an industry where people especially put off having families because they are chasing the success in Hollywood, to feel perhaps like his desires to have a family are kind of looked down upon by his peers and perhaps not always reflected in the sort of popular cultural commentary.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly a fair concern to have if people are of a more traditionalist mindset in a very liberal industry or a very liberal city. And I think there is an instance where Sydney Sweeney recently said something about the fact that she would like to be a young mom, or and that then got some pushback from. Now she becomes a bit of a lightning rod.
Well, and I think the reason why people started sort of digging into her political background was because of those remarks.
Oh, interesting.
Because again, on Reddit or BuzzFeed or whichever one of these sort of more left-leaning websites, people were saying that she was doing the pro-natalist propaganda, and oh my gosh, she must be a secret Republican. And then there was like a birthday party where people were wearing MAGA hats, and it all just went downhill from there.
Right, and it became, not so secret Republican. But don't you think, and I think in fact you and I have spoken about this on the show before, there is obviously a countervailing push from more conservative people who are often themselves younger, not sort of, as it were, your grandparents' Republicans. Remind me what the name of, there's a magazine, is it Evie or what's?
Evie magazine.
Evie magazine. Now, isn't that intended to sort of articulate or at least be of more interest to younger women who have more conservative cultural values.
Yes, there's that, and then there's also the conservator, and both are trying to approach things like fashion, culture, makeup, celebrity from the perspective of conservative women and kind of what gets elevated and ways to dress more feminine, and is this movie worth seeing? It's very interesting. I think they do a good job.
Are those magazines, do you know, like, are they attracting a significant readership?
I think they're doing well. I mean, I couldn't say what their subscriber numbers are, but I know they've been growing. They seem to be hiring staff members. Conservator recently launched a podcast with two of the women who help run that, and it seems to be doing really well. They're like all over Fox News. So
yeah, the thing about all those sort of debates is people get so easily sort of outraged, I think, about the cultural flashpoints in America. And I don't really, maybe this has just been me being kind of permissive about such things, but I find it difficult to get outraged one way or another. If someone has a much more conservative view than I would have of the ideal family life, or what their ideal family looks like, or what their ideal personal life looks like, that's fine. I mean, I don't necessarily require people to subscribe to my template of what this is. I think the danger comes when people feel like there is disapproval of other people's choices, right? Or sneering, as you say, of other people's choices. And that becomes then part of this bigger pitched battle between conservative and liberal forces in American society.
And a lot of this was captured by the tradwife debate. There was this huge trend, obviously, that started really during the pandemic, but grew in recent years, of women online showing this very hyper-traditional lifestyle where they are stay-at-home moms and they dress in the flowery dresses and they make the sourdough and their husband does everything outside of the home. And there's rightful criticism of it. A lot of the women who do those types of videos are quite wealthy. Maybe it's not super realistic for every woman to be able to achieve that. Also, when you're a mom with 7 kids, like the idea you're going to get up and put on your flowery dress and do your hair and makeup every day, maybe not super realistic. But I also think a lot of the backlash was just the idea of even being stay at home or having that many kids. And that was where it crossed the line into, now we're actually trying to discourage something that there's no legitimate argument against someone wanting to have a big family if that's what they want to do, right?
Right, exactly. And I think that's really the dividing line that I was trying to get at a moment or two ago. There's a difference for anyone between saying, these circumstances make me happy, I'm proud of that, I express that, and saying these circumstances or this model of family life which I believe in is right for you, and you should do this, or you will be unhappy if you don't do this. And that's where I think it gets into a very different area of looking down your nose at other people's choices, which I don't think that that's a good idea, obviously, and I think people should find their own pattern or model for living, whatever that should be.
I do think a lot of the commentary around family formation from women, particularly millennial women, comes from a place of warning, a place of actually compassion, because a lot of women in my generation, we were raised through school that you establish yourself in your career first, and then you go off and have a family so that you have independent means of making money if the marriage dissolves. And first of all, it's kind of a very pessimistic way of looking at marriage. But secondly, it sort of runs counter to biological reality, right? Which is that it's easier to have children when you're younger. As you get older, pregnancy becomes more risky or perhaps impossible. And there's a recent song by a country star by the name of Kelsey Ballerini, where she also divorced her first husband and is currently in a long-term relationship, but they never had children. She writes in this song about sitting in parks and watching young mothers with families and feeling so intensely jealous and wondering if she made the right decision to focus on her career and to be 30, 31 without kids yet and not married. And it's almost like a wistful, but also a warning to the next generation of, I did it this way, but I'm not sure that that was the right way. And like Rolling Stone magazine told me that this is what I should do, but now I feel this sort of emptiness and sense of longing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in circumstances like that, obviously the wistfulness expressed in a song like that, I absolutely assume is genuine and real and choices not made. I think one of the very biggest picture criticisms I would have of sort of lifestyle related media coverage is that it just often puts forth unrealistic expectations. And particularly in relation to media aimed at women, there used to be the "you can have it all" kind of thing.
Right, the girl boss
yeah,
kind of, yeah.
Exactly. And like most people of either gender can't actually have it all. Life is full of trade-offs and compromises, and if I focus on this, that means I'm not focusing on that. That is just the part of being human, and often those choices are very difficult, and sometimes those choices are ones that you end up thinking that you made the wrong choice, or you lost something by making one choice that you regret. That's life, though, and I think sometimes the elevation of sort of like, oh, it can all be perfect, and you can't have, if you're 8 kids, and you can't have the 8 kids and be dressing in your lovely lace dress and making sourdough bread. It's like, yeah, that's actually quite difficult. It's not all that realistic for everyone.
Well, we'll be right back with more on Rising after this.